I mean, why would Angel Reese want Caitlin Clark in this new league? If Caitlin Clark is there, the spotlight of Angel Reese, it becomes a shadow.
After Caitlin Clark secured that incredible deal with the newbie league, which was stumbling its way into women's basketball and, to be honest, might as well have written the book on cluelessness, Angel Reese went crazy. They began by enlisting every player under the sun except for the one star who could truly make them famous.
Unfortunately, it's a star that most people don't like.
Yes, they lined up Rays, A. Wilson, and an entire squad of nearly all of their players in the hopes that this mix would work miraculously. What were they smoking? Eventually, someone over there was able to piece together enough clues to realize that, yes, Caitlin Clark is their only chance at even sembling success.
Now they're realizing we might need Caitlin.
Reese is left watching the true superstar walk away with the award as they toss sacks of cash at her. She is virtually giddy since Unrivaled has finally realized that they are nothing more than a frantic circus that burns money without Clark.
They're offering Caitlin Clark $1 million for 2 months of her services. $1 million to carry a new basketball league from January to March.
This so-called league has the gall to claim that it will revolutionize women's basketball, but without Caitlin Clark, they are merely forgettable. The Unrivaled League is desperately looking for a spark to make it happen, but when your entire roster is made up of who-the-fuck players, there isn't much chance of igniting the sports world.
Unrivaled is going to feature the 30 best pretend basketball players, with the vast majority of them being anonymous. Now, they do have one star committed to playing in the league.
Let's discuss TNT's outrageous investment. They have a $100 million deal that spans 6 years, and they are banking all that money on viewership goals. Do they even realize what they have committed to? Without Starlight Clark, those TV ratings will be lower than the temperature in Antarctica, where people are tuning in to watch a lineup that looks like a phone book of nobodies. In the hopes that Clark may be the miracle fix, TNT has essentially written a check for a league without a foundation. Every time Clark takes the court, arenas are packed with fans like it's the playoffs. Venues actually have to increase seating to accommodate the crowd she attracts, but does Unrivaled have that kind of pull without her? Their delay isn't just incomprehensible, it's offensive. Clark is a powerhouse and an Unrivaled knows it. Put her name on the roster and you'd have ticket lines wrapping around the block. The most marketable player in women's basketball, Clark, was kept waiting for 3 whole months while 26 other names were introduced in the hopes that they would gain any traction without the biggest star in the sport. Now, they are in full-on panic mode, frantically trying to hide months of neglect with a Hail Mary attempt that begs for our salvation. Caitlin, their desperate late-game tactics highlight how badly they've run the alleged leak from the start, and the PR team would undoubtedly win the prize for the most self-defeating social media strategy in sports history. Rather than attracting Clark, they actively participated in disparaging remarks about her.
In the same vein, they were also liking negative comments about Caitlin Clark from the official Unrivaled basketball Instagram account, like during the season. So all of these things were just not a good look.
Their official channels went out of their way to promote posts that disparaged the very player they are now pleading with to join. It seems as though they were undecided about whether they wanted her to join or leave, but disparaging the superstar you need isn't exactly a winning tactic. All they were able to demonstrate was that they are utterly disconnected from what fans truly desire. If you want to see how to properly court a star like Clark, just look at Ice Cube, and his Big 3 league. Ice Cube acknowledged her value right away, without hesitation or games, and made a generous offer. He put his money where his mouth is by giving Clark more money than he gives some ex-NBA players, demonstrating that they are unmatched exactly how it should be done. However, they are too preoccupied with regretting their own poor choices to realize how far behind they have fallen in comparison to the Big Three's Noon's approach. He wasted time playing around with inferior options and most definitely didn't play petty games on social media. Unmatched frenzied scramble appears completely amateurish. Fast forward to the present, and Unmatched is flinging cash around like confetti at a parade, proposing Clark a ridiculously complicated deal worth a cool $1 million for only 2 months with a possible share in the business.
Unrivaled League needs Caitlin Clark, and they are preparing to offer her a massive deal. But is it all too little too late?
They're throwing everything at her feet in the hopes that she'll fall for the ruse, but if they really valued her, they would have been at her door months ago rather than waiting until every other plan had failed. This last-minute cash grab is more about hiding their epic blunder than it is about acknowledging Clark's talent.
Clark doesn't need any money. She has plenty of endorsement deals. I think she is totally fine. And I think for her body and for her mental health, it might not be the best thing for her.
However, even with a ton of money on the table, Clark has every reason to avoid Unrivaled because it is a league without a strong foundation, no track record, and, to be honest, no idea. Signing with them runs the risk of bringing her name down to their level as a shaky startup with zero credibility. She has a reputation to maintain, and attaching herself to this train wreck is a risk she doesn't need. If anything, the real question here isn't whether Clark should accept the offer, but rather whether Unrivaled deserves her at all.
So do I think Caitlin Clark should join Unrivaled? I'm not so sure. I think that the money needs to be high. It needs to be in the millions. It needs to be at least what Cube offered her for the big three at minimum.
Now, let's just pause to enjoy the absolute comedy that is Angel Reese's response to Caitlin Clark's glitzy, record-breaking agreement. I mean, what a meltdown. Reese is constantly venting her financial frustrations about her meager $75,000 WNBA salary. She used to act like Clark was just another person in the crowd, but now that Clark is winning $1 million, the jealousy is practically radiating off of her, and Reese is unable to contain herself. It's like witnessing the most obvious act of jealousy in basketball history.
I thought WNBA players didn't like Caitlin Clark.
For months, Reese minimized Clark's impact, presumably believing she would be content without him. However, now that Clark has received that fat, unmatched check, Reese's story has completely changed, and the narrative about Clark is no longer relevant. She is witnessing Clark being courted with benefits and a salary that would make any WNBA player gasp. Reese, who rolled her eyes once when Clark is brought up, it's ironic, no, it's hilarious, to watch her compelled to admit that Clark has far more market power than she has.
Angel Reese is playing in this league. Dejanay Carrington is playing in this league. Obviously, I feel like that's the biggest name where there is some sort of tension. Whether there's tension between Caitlin and Dejanay, we don't know, but there is still that narrative.
Additionally, there is the huge wage disparity with players like A.A. Wilson, who is undoubtedly feeling the pinch of being passed over. Wilson may openly back an unmatched effort to land Clark, but let's face it, she can't be happy when Clark outbids her for endorsement agreements. Despite the fact that Wilson and Reese are both household GS in the WNBA, they aren't bringing in as much money as Clark. Even with her well-known antics and outspoken media presence, Reese is unable to match the volume of transactions. Seeing Clark's face plastered across ad campaigns must be agonizing when your own financial struggles are constantly on blast. Watching the spotlight shine on Clark only highlights the gap, and Reese's frustration is written all over her public reaction. Clark's landing, Nike, State Farm, you name it, they're throwing money at Clark, and Reese is just left watching from the sidelines. These deals aren't just about income. They're a huge reminder of Clark's clout, the kind of influence that Reese can only wish for.
This is your opportunity to see if you can survive without her. This is your opportunity to see if Angel Reese is enough of a draw to carry a new league. I think the answer's no, but
imagine top players deciding it's time to leave the NBA after seeing Clark's salary check and become weary of making shit while she's receiving millions. If Clark does go to jail, the league is in serious trouble. If Unrivaled starts paying, the WNBA, which cannot afford a talent drain, may lose its best players. This isn't just a boost for Unrivaled. It's a warning sign that the WNBA can't stay up and a direct threat to their already precarious position. Establishment of finances.
Cube offered Caitlin before the Big Three season began. I commend Ice Cube because you have to think about the type of...
However, it's important to remember that Clark's game is 5-on-5. She is an expert in traditional basketball, not some pickup style 3-on-3 format. If you put her in an unmatched little experiment, you have to wonder if it will even work. Critics have already questioned whether 3-on-3 can maintain interest, which means that Unrivaled would bet their entire league on Clark's shoulders. Unrivaled better pray, and she could carry them because without her, they would be headed quickly towards irrelevance. It is nearly unheard of in women's sports for Caitlyn to have a $28 million Nike endorsement in addition to partnerships from brands like State Farm. Brands really compete with her for marketability.
Here's the potential problem. Caitlin Clark already has money. She signed a $28 million deal with Nike. She's got endorsement deals from State Farm.
And Unrivaled is eager to capitalize on the fact that they're hoping for a boost in their profile and an opportunity to play in the major leagues. But the harsh reality is that without her, they're just another empty wishful project in a crowded sports world. They're hoping that Clark's star power will somehow make people care, as if her star power could elevate their pathetically constructed lineup. Think about it. Unrivaled has poured all of their money and hope into persuading Caitlyn to join. They have no backup plan. Clark's star power, fan base, marketing value, and everything else that no one else has ever had or could purchase even if they tried are all undeniably embarrassing if they don't fall for that ruse.